Welcome everybody, Doug Schakel here, retired head men's basketball coach at Colorado Mesa University. You know, a couple of years ago we did a video on the modified triangle offense for youth basketball, and since then we've received hundreds of email questions and requests from coaches all over the United States and a lot of foreign countries, and coaches are asking things like, what happens if the defense makes this adjustment or takes away that option? And so as a result, this is going to be the first of a YouTube video series to respond to the most frequently asked questions regarding the modified triangle offense. Now, that means that today we're going to take a closer look at attacking zone defenses with the modified triangle offense. Now, 2 years ago I began this project with a group of 5th grade girls that, a lot like you, included a family member, in this case my granddaughter. And so again, like a lot of you, I got volunteered to coach the basketball team. If you've seen the original video, you know that the makeup of our team has mostly been seasonal recreation type players, meaning they pick up a basketball for the first time in November, they're going to stick it back in a closet at the end of February. We're not a travel team, a tryout team. It's just a group of kids that from a local middle school that want to play basketball together. Now, I knew from previous observations of younger grade levels playing basketball that it's difficult to get younger players to complete very many consecutive passes in an offense. And those of you who have tried to run an offense that required a little bit of passing and player movement know exactly what I'm talking about. They throw the ball up, start the game, the bullets start flying, and it looks like you've never practiced an offense ever before. And because of this, to coincide with the modified triangle offense, we adopted a basic offensive philosophy that can best be summed up like this: shoot it before we lose it. Now, because we only had one practice a week, which usually was 60 minutes, sometimes 75 minutes, I knew I needed an offensive structure that would be easy to learn, easy to execute, and require a few passes. The modified triangle offense fit that philosophy really well, and the girls won back-to-back league championships in 5th and 6th grade. Well, now, 3 years in, as 7th graders, while we've gotten a little taller and a little stronger and understand the game a little bit better than we did 2 years ago, the same thing applies to our opponents. So now we found that we need to add some options to enhance the modified triangle offense, and fortunately our girls are now a little better equipped to do just that. I do want to mention that the modified triangle offense really was the base offense for my son's high school state championship team. Now, they had a lot more options, but the thing is, you can add or subtract options to fit the ability level and the personnel of your team. Key thing here is to be very careful about adding too much too soon. I would much rather run a few options really well than be just average while trying to run a whole lot of options. So start simple is my suggestion, and you can add options as the season progresses. And as always, if you have questions, you can email me at DougSchakel@AOL.com, which is displayed on your screen right here. And by the way, if you can't see those annotations or the many others that I put on any of our videos, you need to go to Doug Schakel YouTube and watch it on a desktop model or a laptop. We have found that smaller devices like your phone won't display the annotations. Now, also, if you picked up this video from a site other than YouTube, you may find the annotations don't display either. So you need to go to Doug Schakel YouTube, and you'll be able to find our videos, and there's a lot of information with those annotations, so I really encourage you to do that. Now, without any further delay, let's get to those new options for the modified triangle offense against zone defenses. Well, just in case my email address did not show up as an annotation on your screen, I've written it down here on the whiteboard. If you have any questions, be sure to jot this down, fire me an email, and I'll be glad to respond in kind. Well, let me start out by saying that most of the options we talk about today are probably going to be geared to upper grade levels or ability levels of youth basketball, so probably grades 6, 7, 8, although if you have a pretty talented 5th grade group, have pretty good basketball IQ, we might involve some of those things as well. Now, I'm probably going to give you way too many things today, so it's important that you take a look at the offerings, then maybe you take one or two things that will fit your team. So the first thing I'd like to talk about are the little things that make the triangle zone offense better. And one of the first things is basically it's a concept, and the concept is that make sure you're making the other team guard you. Now let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. I'm going to show you a real simple, typical zone offense that you see at the youth level against the 2-3 zone. And in that one, you're going to have 2 wings. And actually, let me just put this guy out here, and we'll keep the rover where he is. They'll kind of counter the 2-3 alignment with a 1-3-1 alignment. And you'll see the ball gets passed over to here, and the center would follow, over into this area. And this person maybe steps out of the short corner or further, and you've got a little triangle here, and that's pretty good. And then the ball gets passed over to here, and as it does, the center may come up here, or anticipating that the ball's going to go on over to here, slides on across, the rover comes across the baseline, you've got the same thing. The problem here is that in most cases, this point guard doesn't engage these top 2 defenders, and as a result, these 2 can guard these 3 red offensive players, which means that you're going to be in a position where you've got the defense is going to outnumber you on the bottom. You're going to have 2 players down here, and they're going to have 3, and it really makes it difficult to attack a 2-3 zone. So let's take a look at how we can change that up. So let's go back to our original alignment right here. So the first thing we want to do in making the other team guard you is to make sure that our point guard engages at least one of the defenders. A lot of times the point guard stands way out here, not an offensive threat. They don't need to guard him. Okay, and so these 2 are in a this yellow 1 and 2 are in a real easy position to guard any of these upper perimeter offensive positions. So the first thing I want to do is in our offense in the modified triangle is I would offset my point guard a little bit, and I would have him dribble right at this defender. We call that a freeze dribble. So I'm going to get a response from number 1. When number 1 says, "Oh, I'm being threatened now, I've got to guard that person." And the second thing, well, there's another thing that we can do here also, and is that as we get that person engaged, we might even take a dribble now, 1 or 2 that way to pull him further that way. Now when we throw the ball over here, we've moved that defender a little bit. Now you can make a further adjustment here, and that would be this. If you would also slide this player, we usually set up free throw line extended, but if you can slide him below that and then maybe adjust the rover to a short corner position. Well, again, our point guard came up here, engaged with a freeze dribble, and number 1 maybe took a dribble that way, a drag dribble to drag that defender that way. Now the pass gets made to here, and instead of 1 being able to guard our wing, you got a situation now where number 3 is going to have to come out and guard. Well, you see what's happened already is that now we've got a mismatch situation against the bottom of that zone, and we can hit that kid. They can drive. They've got a little shot there. Maybe they take 1 or 2 dribbles. 5 comes to help, and they can slip the ball off to our center right there. So it makes a significantly better situation for you offensively right there. 1. Well, another thing that you can do to create some problems for that 2-3 zone or any zone defense as far as that goes is something we call center post deep. In the center post deep, what we're going to do is take the center and move them so that their heels are about a foot from the baseline. They're facing out in this direction. We're going to take the post and move the post so that the heels are about a foot off the baseline right there. Everybody else is going to stay the same, but what happens now in this situation is that it's a vision problem defensively, because when the center's up here, the offense, all the offense is in front of the defenders, and real easy to keep track of the center and the basketball. But you put the center back here, now what's going to happen? Well, 2 things happen. 1, they can't help themselves, but they automatically deepen. And by deepening, you're going to create some space in here that you're going to be able to take advantage of. But the other thing is this, is that these kids are all going to be head turning. And so they can't really follow the ball as well as they would like to normally, because they're trying to keep track of the ball and the man. Again, if the man's in front of me and the ball's out there, real easy for me to guard. But you put somebody behind me and the ball's out there, and now I'm doing this all the time. So how do we How do we operate out of that? Well, as the ball, again, we would dribble up here and then take a dribble that way to pull that defender. We're going to kick the ball here, and then maybe the center just slides up right into that position right there, and this kid would go ahead and come on up into there. But there's another thing that we could do, okay? And the other thing we can do is that as the ball gets passed, this kid could go away, and this guy's kind of watching him a little bit, and this kid could flash into this area. This kid comes on over into that position again, and what that does is it makes it easier also for us to make a pass into that center position. Now right now that's the post that's occupying the center position, but as we know in the modified triangle offense that the guy who's in the center of the formation that's the center position. All right, and so they've traded places. You can also do this. You could start your center there, okay, and again start your post there. I mean, just a change of pace. Remember, I said I'm going to give you too many things here today. Again, the ball gets passed. This kid, can go. That kid can flash, and again, you've got a bigger space. And sometimes we flash. Pardon me, flash and get the ball right there for a really good scoring opportunity. A lot of times, what will happen here is that this kid will come with that flash. Remember, this kid was coming under, and all of a sudden we've got to pass back to that kid right there. So again, as there's kind of a little change up, we just call out, we call out center post deep, and they know what they're going to get in these deep positions right here, and then we'll operate from there. Well, we just showed you a center post deep, and that's a pretty effective little maneuver that you can use. Here's one of the problems, again, from email questions that have come in. Some people have a problem sometimes when the center just comes down here and sets up, and they start to figure that out, so to speak, and they're not going to let that pass go into number 5 so easily from the wing. And part of the problem is that the center is just stationary. So one of the things we like to do is create some movement. Now, one of the things you can do is that as you come down the floor, if anything, we want the center, if you choose this option, we want the center to be late on their as they get down the floor. And so what happens is we'll come up into here, we'll make this pass, and the center's late, but because the center's on the move, they can engage this player and kind of, we use the term sit, you don't sit, but I mean sort of sit on top of their lead leg or whatever it is and post up. So we run down, post up, and we can hit them just as they arrive, and that's an easier way to get the ball there. But we have some other ways that we can get the ball to the center. We have what we call center post high. Center post high, we're going to bring both of these kids up here, all right? And so now as we come down the floor, we're looking at, it could be 2 or 3 different things that could happen right here. Here's the maybe the more common of the two is that we make a pass to the wing right here, and the center goes away to the opposite post position, and the post cuts right off of the center's tail. And again, it's a change of pace. It's got movement in it, and what happens a lot of times is 5 will move up, and 5's accustomed to being matched up defensively with a center. And so when the ball goes here and the center starts to go away, we'll a lot of times get 5 sort of acknowledges that or engages the center a little bit, and then again as they continue on going on here, the post comes right off the tail end right there. All right, now this actually could become a screen situation right here, is that when the ball again is passed from guard to the wing, we could actually start running more at 5 right there and actually create a momentary screen for the post to come off of there and then go ahead and slide on over there. And again, it gives us an opportunity to hit somebody on the move rather than just having somebody being stationary in that situation. Now the other thing that could happen here is that after you've run center post high, and this is a crossing action, all right, so it could be I mean, if you want to add, we're trying to be descriptive for the kids, so it's easy to remember movements and that kind of stuff. So we could call center post high cross. And so on the ball right here, again, they're going to make that crossing action. But here's what also could happen. Center could start going away and change direction. Post is going that way, sees the change of direction, and takes that. Once again, we catch 5 off guard, and it's easier now for us to get the ball into that center position. One other thing is a change-up, is you could start the center on that side, and you could get the post going away on this exchange and bringing your center, if you like to, you really favor having that kid in that position, into that spot also. So again, just another way. It creates some movement. It's a little, you end up doing the same thing. You're going to end up getting in your triangle, but it just gives you a change of pace. And it's kind of like a baseball pitcher. If you only throw fastballs, after a while they probably are going to adjust that fastball. But if you mix in a curveball and a slider and whatever else that you might have, and you change up. You may end up actually still going to your ace pitches when you need them, but the fact that you've been changing it up just makes it a little harder for them. In this case, this change-up makes it a little harder for them to guard you. Again, one of the email questions that I've gotten, or comments that I've gotten from coaches, is that, my point guard's one of my best players, and other than the two-man side, I can't really get that kid involved in the zone offense, particularly when we go to the triangle side. And so there are ways to maneuver your kids into the positions that you want to get them into. One of the things we use is what we call middle rover. If you have seen the other video, we have an option called middle wing. In middle rover, we're going to take the rover nose, they go to the middle, to the free throw line, going to go right in that position, right in there, okay? And so what we're going to do now is we'll dribble over here. We can do one of two things. We can, dribble here and engage that guy and make a pass. And then the guard could go on into the corner. And now you've got a wing and a good point guard that can do some damage over here. You could also do this. You could have this kid dribbles just dribbles this way a little bit. Okay, just drawing this guy, and then have the rover step out. And by the way, once the guard commits to this side of the floor, the rover is going to step out and become the new point guard, actually. But again, this guard could dribble, just dragging this defender a little bit, kick it back to here, and on the kickback could run on into the corner, or maybe you have a double kick here, and maybe the wing and the guard both go this way. And again, this kid will rush back, and now we make the pass there. And now you've got some pretty good players going over here. Sometimes the rover might not be the most skilled player, and now we get the triangle side. We've got some really skilled players going to work over here. So again, that's and the thing is, we'd call it out early enough, so as we're running down the floor, okay. So we're coming down the floor and the kids are running down. I'd call it out early enough and say middle rover, boom. So the kid doesn't go there and come up here. The kid's running down the floor and runs into the position right in here. So I go in here and I'll dribble off, step out, give him the ball, kid responds. Again, this kid could go into the corner, and now we kick the ball there and there. And again, you could combine any of these things with a center post deep or center post high also. But anyway, what the biggest thing we're trying to do is get a lot of good players over on this triangle side of the floor and see if we can't be more effective offensively that way. Well, we're just about to finish up the triangle side of the modified triangle offense right here, and in a moment we're going to actually have you're going to have to go to another video. It's going to be a part 2, and it's going to deal with the two-man side of our zone offense. But there's still a couple, 3 options I want to talk to you about here in conclusion. We've been going left, left, left all the time right here. And what we like to do occasionally, we need to get the action, the triangle set up on the other side. It's kind of like in baseball. If you throw me fastball after fastball after fastball, eventually I, kind of get used to it and adjust a little bit to it. But if you mix in a curveball and a slider and a changeup or whatever, you keep me off balance. And so sometimes we just want to get over to the other side. Again, if we try set up the triangle on this side, you're going to find that we've got number 4 hasn't been guarding the triangle action over, because he's been guarding the two-man action all the time. So it's a little bit different challenge for that player. So anyway, we're set up in these positions. Let me get us back where we need to be. And I should mention that the center and the post, notice how in there was second lane slot. If we were shooting a free throw, that's where they would be. The defense would have that on a free throw and we'd be there. That's where we want to operate with our center and post, is in that second lane slot. It really makes a difference on the spacing, and I mean it makes a tremendous difference in how the offense runs. A lot of times kids want to run down here and get on the block, and that messes it up. We don't have the space to operate like we want to. So second lane slot for those guys. So again, triangle on the other side of the floor. We get an early, we get the rebound. I mean, as soon as we get the rebound, and I've got a laminated sheet. It's called a play call sheet, and you email me, and I'll send you an email copy back of it. And by the way, on that call sheet, you're going to see the first part's going to have play calls and descriptions, and then down at the bottom it just has the play calls, no descriptions. So it's that bottom part that I have in a little laminated sheet with me. So at any time in the game I can look down and what haven't we run? Oh yeah, we need to, I've got the triangle side stuff and I've got the two-man side stuff. So anyway, as we're running down the floor early, I'll call triangle right. And when that happens, we'll just, these kids are running down the floor, they hear triangle right, and these kids are going to run right over into there, and the center knows that our triangle is going to be there. And so he'll run, again, we're flowing down the floor, we flow to the right side, and we're set up and ready to go. Now, another way that we can get the ball, or the offense run on that side of the floor is we can come down, we can call middle wing. Now again, middle wing, we'll run down the floor, the wing does not go here and over, the wing just simply runs down the floor and runs right to there. And probably knows, because this is not against man-to-man, probably knows if we call middle wing, we probably want that kid to pop out. Middle wing does have the opportunity to go either direction. They could go back here, and sometimes we do that just because maybe somebody's overplaying them and making it hard to get that pass in there. But otherwise, we call middle wing, pops out there, ball's going to be delivered, rover's over, and we're good to go. The one other way that we can get into the triangle on that side of the floor is I'd simply call dribble wide. We're coming down the floor, and this is real easy to do. The guard just dribbles wide over to that area. The rover's reading the ball going that way, so rover over. Wing knows that he or she has to fill up here to be the new point guard, and then we've got a triangle set up over here. We're ready for two-man stuff over on this side as well. So I hope this gives you some ideas of some things that you can do on the triangle side of the floor. Now we're going to shift you to a second video, a part 2 video if you will, that covers zone offense and how we attack a zone from the two-man side of the floor.